And I'll read a lighter one to show that no life is totally without joy, or at least hilarity in the weirdness. This is called the neurotic spaz. He is like a child playing hopscotch when the rest of the world can see the squares and he can't. He stands where he's told to begin and gets the first bit right. Then someone tells him to keep going and he hasn't a clue what they're talking about, so he wanders off. This wandering off doesn't bother him in the least, but it frustrates the hell out of me and the rest of the world. We are all thinking, why can he not see what is right in front of his eyes? One goes through all the scenarios, from vision impaired to mentally impaired, onto lazy, unmotivated and careless. His older brother, Luke, has just given him a new title, neurotic spaz. Bronson is not at all insulted by this. He earned this new pet name when we were out shopping. Luke gave Bronson the job of holding the trolley in a corner of the local Westfield shopping centre while we looked at things. The simple fact of being there gave him a terrifying sense of exposure that he only barely controlled. Then he was given the job of actually navigating the trolley through the shopping centre. Bronson was able to manage the appearance of being like any other teenage male right up until I wandered into a shoe shop to make the serious decision of which shoes I should buy. He was standing outside the shoe shop with Luke while I was at the back of the shop. While I could see the anxiety escalating by the glazed look of terror and impending doom in his eyes, everyone else was oblivious. Any other teenager would have looked sullen and bored. Bronson looked anything but those things. He came unstuck when Luke came to me at the back of the shop. This meant Bronson was left alone at the entrance to the shop with the trolley. Now, for any other teenager, this would simply have been annoying and produced grumbling impatience. But not Bronson. There he came with the trolley, his only object in life to avoid the humiliation of being looked at strangely. He bumped the customers and banged into shoes, staring straight ahead through the late-night shopping crowd to reach his comfort zone, me, not caring one whit that the comfort zone of everyone else had been utterly destroyed by a teenager on a mission through the narrow aisles of the crowded shoe store. Luke looked up with amazement to take in this sight. "Mum, he's a neurotic spaz," he declared. The neurotic spaz was undeterred by the look of horror on the face of his gobsmacked brother and sped up a little, collecting summer sandals and the customers' handbags with the trolley wheels on his run from terror to freedom. His face held the look of drama and suspense you would expect from someone fleeing from some brutal, tyrannical regime into the arms of Amnesty International. I cannot explain how it seemed less embarrassing to traverse a crowded shoe shop with a huge trolley rather than lean on the damn thing a few metres away and feign the usual bleak indifference of the teenage male. Even after this debacle, Luke, who has never let anyone get the better of him, gallantly took Bronson to get a hot chocolate while I went to the ladies in the chemist. This was an opportunity for two brothers to hang out. It was also another opportunity for me to lose my purse, which I managed on a regular basis in my hurry to return to Bronson before he became confused and walked home. At the tender age of 15, I was sure he had covered more miles than Cliff Young, the marathon running farmer. Any toilet breaks or sidetracks from the routine with Bronson had me acting more like a neurotic spaz than Bronson himself. When the two brothers returned with their hot chocolates, Luke had not lost his amazed, confused look and took great pains to tell me how it had taken 10 minutes for the neurotic spaz to discuss the problem of putting sugar into the takeaway chocolate cup. "Mum," the spaz swore blind that the cup would collapse if he took the lid off to put the sugar in. "Welcome to my world," I said. The evening ended in true Asperger's style when we arrived at Luke's car in the car park. Luke takes great care of his car, unlike his mother, who has a dent on every panel. Bronson, with his Asperger's tunnel vision, had decided to bring the trolley to the back of the car on the left-hand side, which was too narrow to fit the trolley. His brother explained calmly that there wasn't enough room on that side between the two cars and to bring it around to the right-hand side. Bronson was incapable of comprehending. In the face of glaring logic, he continued to proceed along the left side. He'd already been anxious about the outing, and as the anxiety increased for him, the understanding decreased. The more instructions he is given, the more muddled he becomes. Instead of arriving at enlightenment, he got the trolley stuck between the two cars. "You neurotic spaz, go back and come this way," shouted Luke, throwing his hands heavenward. Because Luke went round to the right side of the car and Bronson could visually see what his overwrought brother was talking about, he backed out and came to a bewildered Luke. Luke stood shaking his head. "Why did you do that, you neurotic spaz?" he politely inquired of his befuddled brother on his arrival at the butte of the car. "It's a railway track," I said. The Asperger's mind is a mystery to the rest of us. This phrase is the closest thing that comes to explaining the Asperger's mind. I heard the expression at one of Tony Attwood's seminars. He explained that when testing children for Asperger's, if you show them a railway track, they will dutifully say, "It's a railway track." But when you lean it up against the side of a Lego house to a window and ask, "What is it now?" the neurotypical children will answer, "It's a ladder," and the Asperger's will continue to say, "It's a railway track." Even if you twist it into a circle and put a mouse on it to resemble a mouse treadmill, it is still a railway track to an Asperger's. When I run out of logical explanations, I just say, "It's a railway track." Of course, I can only do this with people who have had the story explained to them, or someone would send me for testing. For Bronson, failing any given task is not traumatic in life. It is the expectation of doing something he doesn't understand and having people look at him that traumatises him. People are just so goddamn annoying to Asperger's. So I go through life trying to sort out what he gets wrong, fixing what he's walked away from, and I have the agenda of solving the problem that isn't even on Bronson's agenda. Avoiding humiliation is his agenda. Through this process, I seem to collect much of the humiliation that Bronson has avoided or left behind. I feel like I'm following Hansel and Gretel through the forest, picking up the trail of crumbs in some manic attempt to sort his present life and shape a precarious path towards his future. None of the above, however, applies to guitar playing. When Bronson will keep trying until the skin peels off his fingers and he can perform flawlessly. I have often noticed that Bronson is quite impervious to insult or verbal injury. He would rather be berated openly than looked at strangely and try and work out the meaning. He holds no grudges for the meanest words imaginable, but will remember a sideways glance well into the next century. I remember being called into the school to attend a meeting with the school truancy officer. She was a compelling woman and put the fear of God into me. I was cowed and beaten, repentant and ashamed, and I wasn't even the one who truanted. I was greatly impressed by her, and when she walked out of the room, I was stirred and challenged. I was sure my son would be similarly impressed and would rise to the occasion. I glanced over at him, expecting to see him cowering in defeat and imbued with a new sense of his consequences when he turned to me. He only had a few words on the issue. Well, wasn't she an annoying bitch?
And what a place to leave it. Thank you for that.